Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You have reached Ragnar's Architecture and Garden Travel. For those of you who are interested in traveling and take while you're looking at architecture and gardens. Today's video will be on castle hotels. And the picture you're looking at right now, the building is neither a castle nor a hotel. It is simply my house. To take a look at some of my background before you start listening to me tell you about castle hotels. I've lived in Italy, Switzerland, China, and America. I speak the languages. I've traveled extensively and stayed in or been to most of the places I show in the videos. When I comment on architecture and gardens, my knowledge is not just book learning. I've designed and built my share of castles and gardens. You can see some of them at waynesigurd.com. Around 2020 in September, I will start a video showing each phase of construction for a petit chateau, and hope you will join us. These are some of the rooms in my house, and one of the reasons we want to look at castle hotels is because you can live literally like a king in the same castles that the kings and queens used to live in. And the luxury and the architecture is always fascinating, and many of them also have great gardens. Um, so what we're going to do is take a quick look at several castles in England and the rest of Europe and in America so you can get a feel for it. We will do individual videos for each country or parts of countries so that you can get a good view of different castles and different palaces. And when we refer to castles, we're referring to chateaus, palaces, and villas also. The first castle hotel we're going to look at is Cliveden House Hotel in Buckinghamshire, England. It was built in 1666 by the second Duke of Buckingham, who was a notorious roue, and he had many affairs with women. He was bisexual and also had a relationship with the King of England, James I, and he kept his hands in politics. There are three places you can go to take a look at and and book a room: clivedenhouse.co.uk, mrandmrssmith.com, and relayandchateaus.com. Several of these castles will be affiliated with the relayandchateau.com, which is an association of hotels and restaurants. One thing you know, if they are affiliated with Relay and Chateau, you will have great food. Now, mrandmrssmith.com, I'm not sure what that is about, but given the lascivious history of this, you might wonder whether or not if you book a room, you might not even be asked for ID. It has great gardens. It has 42 rooms and 15 suites. And in 1893, it was bought by William Waldorf Astor, the richest man in America, much to the consternation of Queen Victoria. The rooms are absolutely exquisite. It is built much like a palace. It also has great food. And here's the restaurant. One of the reasons that people quit building these castles and wanted to give them away was because of the rising cost of income and property taxes. The income tax in America was not even started until the early 1900s. You also had the rising costs of maintenance and the rising costs of service employees like butlers, maids, chefs, sous chefs, footmen, chauffeurs. After World War I, if you have watched Downton Abbey, which is really Highclere Castle in England, you will notice that the people no longer wanted to be servants. It was no longer a prestigious job. Both in Highclere Castle and in the largest home in America, the Biltmore Estate, built by George Washington Vanderbilt in North Carolina, they had 40 servants operating the rooms. So what's happened to most of these castles that have become hotels or museums or event and wedding centers? You will find out that almost every castle in Europe has become an event and wedding center. Many of them have been converted into hotels, and some have been converted into museums by the state. which of course subsidizes the cost, because the cost of admission will not cover the cost of maintenance of the castles and palaces and other buildings that have been turned into museums. Next, we're going to go to France, where you have the Chateau d'Esclimont. This is about 30 miles outside of Paris. It's an easy train ride in. You take a quick trip to the train station and you can pass Versailles on your way. I've stayed here many times, and as you cross over the bridge over the moat, it is a wonderful sight. I took one group on a trip for 2.5 weeks to Europe, and we stayed in castle hotels everywhere we went. They were absolutely astounded at what we saw. When we came to this hotel, we came to the gate, and I said, "This place is going to blow your mind." They said, "Oh yeah, we've seen just about everything. This isn't going to do anything to us." We drove through an alley of trees for a quarter mile and came around a curve and looked down on this hotel, and it did blow their minds. The rooms are exquisite. It is currently under restoration and is not open for business. It has a wonderful restaurant overlooking another bridge over the moat and to a huge pond. On one visit, we were here for Easter and had an Easter dinner. It was an 8-course meal, unbelievable. And one of the guests took a look at the domed lids which were covering the food and lifted it up to take a peek. The waiter rushed over and put down the lid, came back with a flourish and lifted the lid for the show. By the time we got to the 7th course, they came with a tray of 35 samples of local cheeses. If you're a cheese fan, this was absolutely unbelievable. It was absolutely fabulous. Next, we're going to take a look at a much smaller chateau, Chateau de la Traîne, which is located on the cliffs above the Dordogne River in the south of France. It only has 16 rooms, but it has a staff of 29. It is also affiliated with Relayan Chateaus, and it has some of the cutest rooms. When you come to the front, you feel like you're transported back into the 13th century. It was built in 1343, and has been here ever since. It is smaller and much more intimate, and one of the most romantic castle hotels you will ever see. The rooms are very comfortable, and the dining is exquisite and elegant. Next, we're going to go to the Schloss Hotel Kronberg, which is in Taunus, which is basically a suburb of Frankfurt am Main, the financial headquarters of Germany. It was built in 1893 for the daughter of Queen Victoria, who married a German prince, and it has a mixture of Germanic and English architecture. It has great dining. This is a picture where my daughter and son-in-law were with us, and we were having dinner with some relatives of his from Germany. When they came to this hotel, they were very impressed, saying kings and queens and presidents stay here. What's amazing is that you can still get a room for under $200 a night. It is a fabulous place. Next, we're going to Burg Reichenstein. There are two words for castle in German. One is Burg, like the Burg Reichenstein here, which is in Plechtingshausen, Germany, which is overlooking the Rhine River. Burg meant a defensive castle. It has virtually no windows. It has little slits for arrows. Some of them have been reconstructed, putting in bigger windows so that you can actually live other than in the shadows. The other is Schloss, like the prior Schloss Hotel Kronberg, which was much more luxurious. They put much bigger windows in and started making them much more livable, such as the Palace at Versailles, because the cannons had come into use in warfare, and you could no longer use a castle as a defense. It used to be they used to be unconquerable, but now if there were enough cannons, they could be battered down. This is a wonderful place. It's not as luxurious, but has very comfortable rooms. You can wander around the castle and feel like you're back in the 14th century as a knight in shining armor. Notice the thickness of the walls around the windows. As they punched through for the windows at a later date, you can see that the walls were extremely thick. Next, we're going to Italy, to the Grand Hotel Villa Serbellone in Bellagio, Italy. If you describe this hotel it was a big villa, it was a private villa, 2 wings were later added on when it became a hotel. If you want to describe this in real estate terms, it is location, location, location. You're in Bellagio, Italy, which is on the end of a peninsula. It juts out into the middle of Lake Como, which many people believe to be the most beautiful spot in all of Europe. The decor is old school. Some people might feel it's a little stilted. You have live music playing in the grand rooms. It's a beautiful place to sit down with the music in the background and enjoy a conversation with your friends. It has fabulous food. The breakfast is wonderful. You're overlooking the lake. It also has this is my favorite hotel in Europe. One of the reasons is it has one of the best hotel gyms in all of Europe. You can wander 100 yards down the road to the ferry and go across the lake to see the Villa Carlotta, which has one of the best gardens in Italy. There also within walking distances is the Rockefeller Villa, which is up above this hotel, and another villa right down the road, which also has a fabulous garden. Here again, is another castle in Italy, the Castello di Pavone, which is located in Pavone Canavese, Italy, which is outside Torino. It's at the base of the Alps, and if you want to visit the Alps, Torino or Milano, this is a nice place to go from. It has, as you look at that central tower, which was the old dungeon, that was definitely used for fortifications. The honeymoon suite is at the top of this tower, and you better be prepared to carry your own bags or get the bellhop because there is no elevator. This is one of the 2 dining rooms in the hotel, and the food really is good. This is one of the bedrooms in the hotels. Next, we're going to go to Paradores de España, Paradores of Spain. And this is the Hostal San Marcos in León. It is one of the largest continuously operating hotels in the world. In 1928, Alfonso XIII, King of Spain, decided to start buying up monasteries, convents, palaces, castles, and turn them into a chain of hotels called the Paradores of Spain. They are really a treat. You have one in Granada by the Alhambra. It's part of the Alhambra. And we will do another video just on the Paradores of Spain. There's also the Pousadas of Portugal. Portugal after World War II decided to do the same thing and buy up a bunch of their old buildings, the old palaces, castles, and turn them into hotels. The last one we're going to look at today is Oheka Castle. The word Oheka comes from taking the first 2 letters of the first, middle, and last name of Otto Hermann Kahn, who was one of the wealthiest men in America. Was the second largest hotel, second largest home after the Biltmore, and it's in Huntington, Long Island. It used to have its own 18-hole golf course, which is now a separate country club abutting this property. It was designed by Delano and Aldrich, the building was completed in 1917 at a cost of $11 million. In today's terms, that's about $160 million. The gardens were by the Olmsted brothers, who also designed and laid out Central Park in New York. If you want to make sure you get the best prices, you can take a look, pause this video, and take a look at the following websites. SLH is Small Luxury Hotels. Relais and Chateau we've discussed. HistoricHotels.com is for historic buildings in America, and the National Trust.org.uk. The National Trust has bought up many houses, gardens, castles, palaces, churches, and to maintain the patrimony of England. We will do a separate video on this, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, we should have 2 videos a week coming out, and please subscribe to this video series. Thank you very much.